Okay, sorry for the little delay, as always. And welcome to another episode of Omnibrosllive, starring Hardcover Reviews
Howdy.
and yes, the OmniDog.
Woo!
And this week, I am your host, the Omnibus Collector. To this week, we have a topic that I really didn't know how to fit into a title, but basically the idea was we had a question, I think it was a few weeks ago, where someone said, hey, what are some comics you want to see adapted into movies? And I said, I'm tired of that question. What about things that we want to see adapted into comics? So examples of things like that already exist would be, obviously, there's a lot of Star Wars comics out there. We've got like the Army of Darkness comics, pretty much any cartoon series right now, Adventure Time regular show, Bob's Burgers, all these things have their comic adaptations. Sometimes it's a direct adaptation of the material itself. Sometimes it's something like the Star Wars comics expand on the stories in the movies and give us new material. So each of us picked some stuff from various different places, various different media out there that we thought would make a good comic. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But first, we're going to talk about, as usual, what we've been reading and what we picked up this last week. So where do we want to start? Or do we just want to go all in and do both at once?
Start with Jess first. I'm gonna run. And somebody's got.
Okay. All right, Jess, you take the lead.
Okay. Let's see what I read this week. This week I read just a few books, some thin ones. First one I read, and I feel like I'm echoing, but I have it muted. Let me make sure. Yeah, I'm muted. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Oh, you know what? I got to quit the Omnibus page too. Okay. First thing I read, want to talk about is Klaus by Grant Morrison, which was ridiculously good. I can't analyze it the way you guys can so well, other than to say this was awesome. It had, I think everybody knows already just how great this book is. It has great art by Dan Mora, and a wonderful story, of course, by Grant Morrison. This is the most accessible he's ever been, I think, with a story of the origin of the Santa Claus and how he actually becomes Santa Claus, and it has to do with a besieged village who is being carefully controlled by an evil overlord, and children that are disappearing, and a mine that's being mined, and what Klaus can do about it. He's the epitome of the good guy, the big, strong guy who has a little bit of magic backing him. And if you've ever wanted to get into Grant Morrison, this is a great book to get into. He's got a almost magical wolf that's his friend, and it shows how he evolves, and it's a beautiful book. It's got gold gilt edges. The local comic book day one had silver edges, but this thing is a great deal. 35 bucks, and of course on IST you can get it for, almost half of that. But I can't say enough about this. This is Grant Morrison, like when he wrote Wonder Woman Earth 1, at his most accessible, his most fun, just a great feel-good book that has some violence in it that is fairly graphic. I don't know if it's going to be a good kids book, but it is a wonderful read. And I also read the comic adaptation of my favorite book ever, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas by Hunter S. Thompson. And this is adapted perfectly. It is about a drug and alcohol-fueled, crazed visit to Las Vegas to cover a motorcycle race back in the 70s. And it is really well adapted and beautifully drawn. It brings it right to life. I highly recommend it, even if you're not a Hunter S. Thompson fan. This is a fabulous book, great adaptation with beautiful art. And let me see if I can, they set off with a trunk full this is how the sporting editors from the magazine that hired me for the job had also given me $300 in cash, most of which was already spent on extremely dangerous drugs. The trunk of the car looked like a mobile police narcotics lab. And in this trunk, 24 amyl nitrates, quarter rum, case of Budweiser, quarter tequila, pint of raw ether, salt shaker full of cocaine, 75 pellets of mescaline, 5 sheets of blotter acid, uppers, downers, screamers, laughers, and 2 bags of grass. So that is how Hunter S. Thompson made his fame, was with this book. He wrote a book before that about the Hells Angels, but I think this is the one that really put him on the map. And if you have any interest at all in gonzo journalism, this is the book to read, because it is a brilliant adaptation of my favorite book ever, A Savage Journey to the Heart of the American Dream. And it is savage. Take it from me. And I'll zip through these 2 really quick. They fell off my lap. Sorry. I had never read this before, but it's really fun. Worst X-Men Ever. And I believe I got that on your recommendation, Ry. Yeah, Worst X-Men Ever. It's about a kid who's trying to figure out his place in the world, and he has a special power that he discovers when he goes to the school. He doesn't really even fit in at the school. He doesn't fit in anywhere. He has a special power that I don't want to wreck it for you, because I can't even tell you what it is, because that might wreck the story. But trust me, very thin. It's a thin book and fun to read. It'll only take you like an hour to read. But it's, for the worst X-Men ever, it's one of the best X-Men stories ever, I think, because it is just a whole ton of fun. You don't have to be an X-Men fan to read this and enjoy it and get it, because it is a great book that is very thin, but very much worth it. Written by Max Bemis, who I'm sure everybody knows as, wait, who the heck is he again? He's somebody famous, like a band leader. He's in a band or something?
Yeah, the front man for the band Say Anything.
Say Anything, right, which was a great movie.
It was.
Yeah. So it is just a fun little read that everybody should get. I haven't read anything like it before, but if you have a sense of humor, you dig the X-Men, or if you just have a sense of humor, you will dig this story. And speaking of senses of humor, this is a recommendation. The Unbelievable Gwenpool. I read that as a recommendation from, of course, Matthew Sibley, who recommends just about everything I end up reading. And it's Gwen Stacy as Deadpool in an alternate world where she even makes friends with MODOK. She ends up working for him, but the premise, I believe, I'm still having trouble grasping it, is that she is a comic book reader dropped into this world where the comic books are real, and she has unlimited powers just about, and isn't worried about being killed. She just goes around solving crimes and having fun, and it's just like Worst X-Men Ever. It's a lot of fun, very funny, and drawn in a fun style. If you like Gwen at all, you'll dig Gwenpool, because I dig it. Whatever I dig, you dig, because that's the point of the show, right? I tell you what you want to read, and you go out and buy it, and then you blame me on the page. So that's fine. I accept the blame, because you're getting good books in return. I finished the 4th Deadpool OHC. I don't know what to say about this, except it's awesome. Deadpool. And it says, spoiler alert at the very back, Deadpool dies at the end.
Oh.
Sorry, it's on the cover. So you find out that he dies in the end, and it is just, it's by Posen and Dugan, and who I believe have an omnibus coming out of this series next week. And if you don't have the hardcovers, get that omnibus, because their run has been really fun and funny, well written and witty, and I really dug every single one of these. I won't spend too much time on it, because everybody knows Deadpool. Everybody knows to pick these up. Mm-hmm. And if you haven't got the hardcovers, you need to get the omnibus, because it is a blast. And the final book that I want to talk about is actually a pretty serious book. They categorize it as erotic body horror, and it's called Insects.
Ooh.
I don't remember where.
Back in right when you said erotic body horror, so
That got your attention. Erotic body horror, Insects. It's from Aftershock Comics by Marguerite Bennett, who is a great writer, and it's all about women taking their bodies back and taking control at the turn of the century. There is a lot of horror involved. There's sex involved. It's not a book for. It's a very mature book dealing with very mature themes about women taking their bodies back through occult means. It's a really great horror book with really, really amazing art. But the main reason to get this book, let me show you just a couple more pages, because the art is really just beautiful. The art's beautiful. Marguerite Bennett knows how to write the heck out of it. The main reason to get this book is for the introduction, which is one page that starts off erotic body horror. Now, why would a nice girl from a nice family want to write something like that? I wrote Insects because I am a woman, and to be a woman is to live a life of body horror. And she goes on for a page to describe what it's like to be a woman. And this is the most raw, honest, and amazing writing in an introduction about what it's like to be a woman. As a man, it really sort of opened my eyes to what women go through. Every woman of whatever size, shape, or color, every woman goes through this body horror. And get it, if only to read this introduction, which is one of the most well-written treatises or short text on what it really is like to be a woman and have to deal with the body horror that she says that women have to go through. And I found it very imaginative, very powerful woman, girl power. I didn't mean to say girl power, but girl power type thing where women are really taking back and not taking abuse from men anymore in Victorian times. And I won't go into it too much more than to say that there's another killer in the loose in England at this point, and he or it works into this story really well, and I highly, highly, highly recommend it. This gets the OmniDog seal of approval as Book of the Week, also known as Book of the Week. You definitely want to check out Insects.
I'm sold. You are basically my crack dealer at this point. I got Feathers, actually.
Oh, did you? Good.
Yes. I have it here with the cheap graphic novels Black Friday haul that I got going on.
Oh,
I had to
awesome.
pick it up because it was on sale.
Oh, good.
So I'm
So you
looking
got it
forward
for a nice price then. Excellent.
I think it was like $10. I'm not
What?
sure. Yeah, it was like
crazy.
like $10-13 on sale for cheap graphic novels for Black Friday.
Oh my gosh. Well, you're gonna love it. Your gal pal might love it too.
Yeah. I'll give it to her. She could check it out. The only reason she says she doesn't take my books to work is because they're so big. Otherwise, she would sit down and read them at her job.
Yeah. It's not like she can take Simonson's Thor to work.
But you can't take it to the gym.
Oh, she did?
No, you can take it to the gym.
Oh yeah, you can take it to the gym. Yeah.
It's fucking heavy.
Yeah, you do. You do review big books.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, Jess, about Gwenpool. That book really surprised me as to how much I enjoyed it. But it wasn't until I think like issue 4 or something, which was that one that like kind of went into her origin.
Right.
And that's where I was like, because at the first few issues, I was just like, okay, like it's happening. You know, the series is going. I was looking for a reason why it existed, because the character was born out of just being drawn on a variant cover. Like they were mixing Gwen
yeah.
Stacy with everything.
Is that true?
Yeah, and it was on a cover of, I think, an issue of Deadpool. I mean, that would make sense. And people just loved the idea of like Gwenpool, and there was so many people who were like, "Oh man, she should be in her own comic." And then she appeared, albeit like I think it was just a random person in a costume, in an issue of, I believe it was Deadpool versus Hawkeye.
Oh, right. That's where the first lady, Mrs. Thor or whatever, appeared in a costume next to her, right?
That was, yeah, that's true. I might be thinking wrong then. It might have not been her. It might have been female Thor, and it might have been Spider-Gwen. I don't know, but she appeared. I know that one of her first actual story was as a backup, like a 3-part backup in Howard the Duck.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
And
he's in it a lot.
Yeah. There's even like a little crossover,
right.
I think, something. But that story was okay, and I was like, all right, well, that's kind of intriguing. Like, that's funny. They have a little character who's like Deadpool and Gwen Stacy, whatever. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, hey, she's getting her own series. And I was like, what? Like, why is she getting her own series? And so I checked it out just, out of curiosity to see why they would keep going with her. And at first, like I said, I wasn't sold. But when I got to that 4th issue, I was like, holy crap, like, this is deep. Like, this is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And that's the issue that really sold me on it. So I'm I'm waiting for a hardcover down the line, hopefully, to come out for that series.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cool because one of the things is she's not Gwen Stacy and she's not Deadpool.
Yeah.
She's an entirely different character, and she just so happens to have a similar costume, but that was on purpose, like when they make her costume. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that. But anyway, I guess, Luis, if you want to talk about what you have read this week.
For me, it was a super light week. I read Assassination Classroom, which is awesome. It's a little manga that I'm hooked on right now. And essentially the premise is that this monster has come out of nowhere, and he has blown up 70% of the moon. Stick with me. We know what would happen. The world will be flooded. Chaos will be all over the place. It'd be terrible. But essentially, after that, the monster meets up with the world leaders, and he says, look, I want to teach this classroom. And I want to teach these kids. They're the worst kids of this school. They're absolutely terrible. The trick is I'm going to destroy the entire world unless in 1 year's time, unless these kids are able to assassinate me. So he is teaching these kids, and throughout the whole series, they're trying to assassinate him. It's great. It is absolutely brilliant stuff. And what's interesting about it is that it kind of pulls the rug underneath you because, in a way, the monster genuinely cares about the kids. Because, for example, the kids have weapons that they don't harm humans. They just harm the monster. So in one instance, one of the kids is going to kill him by throwing this fastball that's like full of these little beads that can kill the monster. But he throws and he misses him, and since the monster can move at like Mach 20, he says, look, you're absolutely too slow. There's no way you're going to be able to hit me, and you got kicked off the baseball team because you suck. So this is a better way for you to throw a fastball, change your arm, change your positioning, things like that. And in a way, he cares about him, and he's actually a really good teacher for the kids. It's a really interesting and fun series. It's great. It really subverted a lot of my expectations going into it because I thought, oh, great, it's a classroom full of kids that are trying to be trained to be assassins, yada, yada, yada. We've heard that like a million times. We saw it in basically Wanted. We saw it in Deadly Class. We've seen it 1,000 times. But it's really good, and it's changed a lot of my expectations for it, and I really am interested to see where that goes.
Where did you find out about it?
I was just browsing around for different mangas because I'm doing the new segment every week, Manga Mondays. So I'm like, well, let me try, look around, let me see something different, things like that. But it just caught my eye. Like, the cover is really interesting. I can't find the book with me. It's somewhere in the house, but the cover is really cool. I really dig the premise, and it's such a fun series. It's genuinely really hilarious, too. There are moments that are absolutely funny.
It sounds great.
I was reading that. I finished up the Miss Marvel Omnibus. It's a super short read. My review is done. I just haven't edited yet. I just haven't had time to edit anything. That should go up tomorrow. Miss Marvel Omnibus, you guys already know about it. I praised it. Kamala Khan, everybody knows about the character. But for the most part, that's what's taking up most of my week. I really wanted to finish that Miss Marvel omnibus before I moved on to something else.
Nice. I actually filmed a video about the Miss Marvel omnibus like the day after I got it, and then I just never edited the video because I was very displeased in how it turned out, and I just haven't had a chance to retape it. Also, I really hate editing, so I just never do anything.
For those of you that are out there that have never edited or filmed videos, 90% of your time goes to editing. You can
that's what's great about this show is we don't do any editing, so all our fuck-ups are right here.
That's why I don't mind doing this at all.
I can do a video that's 10 minutes long for you guys, and that video will take me about 2-3 hours just to edit and get everything. Yeah, it's a pain.
I'm so lazy when it comes to editing, though. Like, and if you watch any of my stuff, you can tell because I literally just go by and I'm like, I'm gonna cut this out and this out and this out. And then like I watch it and I'm like, does that make sense? And I'm like, yeah, it's good enough. And I just put it up. But it always like I always just feel shitty about it. I'm like, man, this is like I'm the worst person on YouTube. So like whenever I posted jokingly about wanting an intern to edit videos, I wasn't joking. I really did want someone to reach out and be like, yeah, I'll do it. I know like Gio actually did edit one of my videos beautifully one time, but I feel bad asking for him to edit for me all the time.
He's really good. He's really good.
Yeah, I mean, because he's busy doing his own stuff. I can't keep asking him for that. But yeah, that's just my. I guess that's my evil Riley story for today. Is about how I'm really fucking lazy, and that's why I don't make videos. But anyway, I'll talk about what I read. Oh, here they are. I was looking for the books. This week, I read a few different things. I decided that I really wanted to start reading Ed Brubaker's run on X-Men. I don't know why that one in particular, but I was just like, I really want to read that. So I started with the Giant Size X-Men oversized hardcover. This is the 40th anniversary when it came out. Aside from collecting a lot of things that related to Giant Size, like different one-shots and short stories, it also collects Brubaker's first story with the X-Men, which was Deadly Genesis, a 6-issue miniseries, which introduces us to the character of Vulcan. Now, some spoilers, some over a decade-old spoilers here. Vulcan is the third Summers brother, and he pops up because there was secretly another group of X-Men that, during the events of Giant Size, whenever the X-Men were on Krakoa, there was another group before the all-new, all-different X-Men that were sent to go rescue them. Vulcan was one of those members, along with Morph and a couple of other members, a couple of other mutants. And not Morph. What's his name? Darwin. I don't know why I said Morph. Darwin.
Because you don't know your X-Men.
I know. I'm horrible.
This one's for you.
So he goes and they do their stuff, and then the whole team finds out about Vulcan. They meet him. Shit goes down. Vulcan has ties to the Shi'ar, and you find out all about that. And then all of a sudden, at the end of the miniseries, boom, he goes up into space to go do some shit with the Shi'ar, which is what leads into the second story he did, which is Rise and Fall of the Shi'ar Empire. I have the oversized hardcover of this right here, but it's also collected in the War of Kings Omnibus. I just read it here because it was easier to read in bed like that. And then that whole thing leads into some other stuff that leads into War of Kings. But then after the whole cosmic 12 issues that Brubaker did, he kind of settled back on Earth and did a short 5-issue story called The Extremists, which is a little book that focuses on some of the Morlocks. So all of this stuff takes place, mind you, after House of M. So they're reeling from all of the mutants losing their powers, and you're kind of seeing who has powers, who doesn't, all that kind of stuff. So it's a really interesting kind of hectic and depressing time for the mutants. So I've read those 3, and then right now I'm actually reading what's it called? Endangered Species. Bless you.
If you were an editor, this is the part you would have edited out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, would be.
His sneeze and Riley going,
Yeah, I'm reading Endangered Species, which is not actually by Brubaker, but it happens before Messiah Complex, which is the next, it's the big crossover, of course. And that series is kind of just focusing on, I believe it focuses mostly on Beast. I haven't read the whole thing yet, but I've heard really great things about that story. It's written by Mike Carey, Chris Yost, and I believe there's at least one other writer in there. But it's meant to be really good, and then after that I'll go into, of course, Messiah Complex, and then I'll finish up after that reading more of Brubaker's run, and then I'll probably head into Fraction's run, which I've read most of already. So that's everything that I read this week. I think I read a couple other things, a couple small things. Oh, that's right. I read another Godzilla comic called Gangsters and Goliaths, which was nothing like what I expected. Because when I hear gangsters, I'm thinking like, 1920s, like New York gangsters with Tommy guns. And so I'm thinking like, Tommy guns against kaiju. And I was like, this is going to be ridiculous. And it's written by John Layman as well. So I was expecting the most ridiculous thing ever. But it was not at all what I expected. It's like Yakuza, and they're like kind of using monsters to help fight against other gangs and stuff. That's a really brief summation of what happens, but it's actually a really fairly good little story. It's really quick read. It's like 5 issues. John Layman with Alberto Ponticelli on artwork. Ponticelli, I knew him mostly from Frankenstein, Agent of Shade from the New 52 back when it first started. He's done a lot of other stuff though, but that's everything. That's everything I read this week. So now we can talk about all the cool stuff that we bought, because I know each of us got apparently a lot of new stuff in. So whoever wants to start there, y'all can take over.
I still have to unbox this stuff, so whoever wants to go first.
well, I have some unboxed, and then I have a box to unbox. So I'll just zip through it real quick what I have unboxed. Let's see. I got the 3 Thunderbolts trade paperbacks I didn't have, which is 3, 4, and 5, because I have 1 and 2. So
Nice.
Got that. The Killer Omnibus 2. I don't know who recommended it to me. I'm not smart enough to get it on my own, so somebody had to recommend it to me. But it's supposed to be great. The original Squirrel Girl original novel. I'm sorry, The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl original graphic novel. And talk about crack dealer. Luis sold me on these books. I got all of them. Scott Pilgrim.
Nice.
I got all of them in color because I decided I couldn't live without them. And I'm selling, I'm selling all my floppies from the past 10 years to a member of the group, the Omnibus Collector Group, that is opening his own comic store. So I can't live without them, so I have to get them in however I can. This is the 4 trade paperback run of Ghosted, which is awesome. I love Ghosted, and I'm sorry it's not in a hardcover, but it is great. I also picked Sweet Tooth Volume 3. And I can't wait to look through this. The Art of the DC Comics Bombshells. Anybody that reads any of my babbling on the page or the subgroup knows that I got a soft spot for the bombshells, so I dig them.
You can see them all behind you.
Right. You can see them right there, some of them. And then I got a big chunk of Batman, Superman, and Superman Wonder Woman, which I am very excited about, since I'll be losing them in floppies. And the rest, I don't know what it is. It's in the box. So I guess if you want, I can open the box.
What's in the
how
box?
big it is.
Oh my God. I love those giant boxes from In Stock.
The only problem is it's full of styrofoam, so there's always a ton. Whoa, this is a big chunk of books. Okay. And I think I know what's on the bottom, because this is why it's such a big box. I'm probably the only person that collects absolutes that does not have Absolute Watchmen, and that's what this is, Absolute Watchmen. I have it in floppies from when I was comic reader back in the 80s, and so there it is in the box, Absolute Watchmen. And the other books I got, I finally decided to not wait for the hardcover to come out for Manifest Destiny and Thief of Thieves. So I got Manifest Destiny, Thief of Thieves, and a couple of Parker books, Slayground and The Score by Darwin Cook. Don't know if you can see them. I could unwrap them, but I don't think we have time for that. So I got a couple of Parker books, Thief of Thieves and Manifest Destiny, which I love Manifest Destiny. I never read Thief of Thieves, but I own it in floppies, and I figured if it was good enough for me to buy in floppies, then what the hell? I'll just buy the trades and read it there. And because that's how I roll. I just throw darts at the dartboard and buy shit. So that's pretty much my unboxing. I know that was an exciting unboxing there. That was my first unboxing everywhere, so sorry if it sucked.
That was a very good unboxing, Jess.
That was my
Played
first
like a
one.
true pro.
I aspire one day to have your bank account.
Well, when you get to be my age, you have some bank.
Who's start? Me?
Sure.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Holy crap. Okay, so cheap graphic novels. They destroyed me this week. They had a hell of a they really had a hell of a good sale. There was some really good stuff on there. But to start off with, I got the first volume of Hunter x Hunter. That'll be the one that I do a review for Monday. I've heard good things for Manga Monday, so it's gonna be what's coming up.
It's one of my top 10, maybe top 5 manga of all time.
Oh,
it's
really?
good.
Seriously, it's like the first arc is good, like it's really good, but it just keeps getting exponentially better, and the way that he writes that series is so like detailed, and like you get inside the characters' heads more so than you do in most manga series. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
I'm super excited I've heard great things. Like every time I do a review for a manga or something, everybody's like, "This is great, but when are you gonna take a look at Hunter x Hunter?" So, or Hunter x Hunter for those of you out there that.
That's supposed to be Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah, for those of you that freak out. But yeah, this is the first volume, so I picked that up. I can't wait to dive into that for great things. I also got the entire Hickman Fantastic Four run because I scored this for probably about 60, 70 bucks. Somebody gave me the whole thing. In trades, I know the omnibuses that people have been posting the omnibuses on the Facebook group like crazy lately.
To buy?
Yeah, I've seen 2 in like the past week.
I saw one earlier today.
Yeah, there was one earlier today. There was one last week. A set of omnibuses for cover. Yeah. So I got this for 60 bucks. I was like, you know what? For 60, 70 bucks, I'll take the bullet, you know? So I ended up getting the entire run. And now we're getting to the actual cheap graphic novels haul. Feathers, recommended by Jess himself. This was on sale on cheap graphic novels, I think, for like 13 bucks, 10 bucks, something like that.
Crazy.
Yeah, I told you, they had some good deals on there. There was some really choice stuff. Really looking forward to diving into this. I cannot wait. Jess's recommendation absolutely sold me on it. The art is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. I love the style. So
that's a well-built book for 13 bucks.
I was surprised, honestly, that it was being sold that cheap. You know, by Archaea. So Archaea is usually pretty good with their production quality, though. They sell A+ stuff. Huck. I've been to read this by Mark Millar. I've heard great things, so really excited to dive into this. Art by Raphael Albuquerque, who does American Vampire, though American Vampire is on hiatus right now. Don't know what's going on with it. great series, unfortunately. But we got Huck, and I've heard amazing things that if you're a fan of like Superman or something close to it, you'll enjoy it.
It's great.
It's really good. A fun fact about Huck that has nothing to do with the actual book right there. There's a member of our group, Frank Gogol, Gogol.
Mm-hmm.
He starting to write comics, and he put out a newsletter that I subscribed to where he mentioned he submitted a short story for this year's Millar World Annual based on Huck. So if maybe he wins and gets his stuff published, and if he does, you could possibly see his first
Oh, wow.
published work in major comics in the 2017 or 2016 Millar World Annual. So that's, I guess, 2017. You know, I'm rooting for him, but he has a really good attitude about, you know, if he doesn't win, he's like, it's still a great experience because I got to write a book in someone else's, with another person's character, you know?
That's awesome.
It's a great book. I loved Huck.
That's really awesome. I'm pulling for him, man. And when does that come out? Next year?
Sometime, I guess, maybe spring next year.
Okay.
Maybe summer. I don't know. I haven't seen exactly when but they're taking the submissions right now.
Yeah, Millar gets a lot of hate, but lately for me, he's been doing very well. Like his whole Jupiter's Legacy, Jupiter Circle, that whole universe he's creating, I'm enjoying the hell out of that.
And what was that other one? It was like a sci-fi book with. It was kind of like It was kind of like Flash Gordon, but like he's old now.
Superior?
I forgot. Sorry, what?
Is it Superior? I think that's what it's called.
No, Superior is the one that's like Superman, kind of like Shazam, because it's a kid that becomes a superhero. I don't remember the title of it, but Goran Parlov as the artist on that one. That one was surprisingly good. Like he's been surprising me left and right lately.
I'm a big fan of his, so I don't get the hate. So I love his stuff. I love everybody, so I'm not a good judge.
Even Greg Land.
Well, let's not jump all off the boat there just yet. I don't know about that.
Really, I'm telling you, Greg Land's gonna be here for MegaCon next year. He shows up every year. I'm gonna get you a damn sketch. It'll be on tracing paper.
I look forward to it.
That's so awesome.
To Riley, fuck you.
We'll be like, fuck you back. Fuck you too, buddy.
Okay, the next one, keep going. Punisher Max Volume 3. I'm continuing the run. I sold off all my trades, and I'm getting the Ultimate Collections now simply because I just like the Ultimate Collections. They're easier to read.
No.
The last volume has the Slavers, if I'm not mistaken. That's my favorite run. But Punisher Max, for me, I've said it a million times, by Garth Ennis, is the defining Punisher story. Love it. Love it so much. If you haven't read it and you're a fan of Punisher, you are missing out. Best Punisher writer ever, in my opinion. Sweet Tooth hardcovers. I have 1, 2, and I hope they didn't cheat me out. Where's 3? Yes, 3. So I got the whole series in hardcovers.
And you got a great deal on those?
Yeah, I think they were going for about $13 a pop.
Whoa.
I think it was like $13, $14 a pop for each one. So I was like, yeah, I'll get them. I've got PayPal credit.
Not anymore.
Yeah, that's going to bite me in the ass later. But no, I have the 3 volumes of Sweet Tooth. Absolutely great series. I've been looking forward to picking them up. And I think for $13, I couldn't miss out on it.
Yeah.
And Thor by Russell Dodderman, Jason Aaron, female Thor. Basically all this was me playing catch up with like a whole bunch of stuff that I missed throughout the year. So I was just filling in a lot of holes. Looking forward to that. Continuing the Thor epic by Jason Aaron. I'm really far behind on it, so that'll probably be something that I crack within the next few days. And there's that. Uncanny Avengers, because I want to continue to finish I want to finish Rick Remender's Uncanny Avengers series. I never got to finish it. I got as far as what's the inversion?
Axis?
What was it?
Axis?
Yes, I got as far as Axis and I dropped off it. So there's that. And this was really the one that surprised me the most. The Nailbiter Deluxe Edition hardcover was $13 on Cheap Graphic.
Whoa, you really scored.
Yeah. $13 for this thing. I saw this and I was like, that is insane. This is a $35 book at regular comic stores and was selling for 13 bucks. I picked this up instantly.
Yeah, great series.
And then we've got Avengers Rage of Ultron, because I'm trying to finish up Rick Remender's run, and Avengers X-Men Axis. Again, I'm going to finish up Rick Remender's run. And that's basically what I got.
Holy smoke.
Yeah, I told you. I had sold off a bunch of stuff this past week, just through eBay and other sources, and I was like, I've got some extra stuff.
Nice scores. Very nice scores.
All right. Well, I guess I will go ahead and start going down mine. I have a little stack here as well. Mine were from a lot of different places: Half Price Books, Comic Shop, internet. So the first thing I've had today and yesterday, I had off. So on my off days, I usually hit up Half Price Books. I sold a bunch of crap, a bunch of like old DVDs and stuff, got some money and purchased a few things. The only book that I bought at that Half Price Books was something kind of random. Batman Year 2 by Mike W. Barr with Alan Davis, Todd McFarlane, and some others. This is one that had been like on the edge of my radar for a long time, just because, I mean, I enjoy Batman, I enjoy those creators, and I wanted to check it out. And it was $4, so I was like, even if it's not good, I can't really beat $4, so I went ahead and grabbed it. At that Half Price Books, I also bought a couple movies. I bought the Blu-ray edition of Evil Dead 2, because I used to have the DVD, sold that, and now I have the whole trilogy after buying that one on Blu-ray. Now I just need to go forward and buy the new TV series so I can keep the saga going. And then I bought 2 007 movies because I've been low-key for the past few years collecting every 007 movie. And I'm lacking just 7 right now out of the 24, I believe that there are. So I grabbed both of the Timothy Dalton movies because they were both really cheap as well. So then I was like, okay, that was a decent little score that I had at that Half Price Books. Let's go to another one tomorrow that's a little further out, and I'm also going to go to the comic shop that's right next to it. So I go in there not expecting to find anything terribly great. I start like looking through their Marvel stuff. I always start with the X-Men books because I need to make sure they have anything I can fill in gaps with. And they had one book that I needed, which was Astonishing X-Men Xenogenesis by Warren Ellis. This is a mini-series that he did outside of the ongoing series, and it's the only Astonishing X-Men book that I haven't read. So figured for, I believe, like $10. Can't really lose. And then as I'm looking through the rest of the Marvel stuff, I get up to the DC stuff, and I'm looking through there. Nothing good, whatever. They don't have some of the stuff that I was hoping they would have. To this little book right here.
Wow. That is
so
such a score.
So jealous.
The Question, Volume 1 by Denny O'Neil, Zen and Violence. And I see it, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, and I had to like look it up and down, and I saw like the number 1 on the spine, and I'm like, it's this one. And it's the one. I found, like, I was like, I couldn't believe it. It's the freaking, it's here.
It's like finding money in the street.
I know. It's like finding $100 bill in the street.
Absolutely.
Did you do?
Because that's about what that book goes for.
Did you do like an Indiana Jones moment where you swapped in like a Rob Liefeld comic and you ran to the register?
It was like I was gonna post something about it on the group before I bought it, but I didn't want to jinx myself and like go up to the register and then be like, oh, actually, it's gonna be $100 because it goes for $100. That's the lowest priced one on Amazon is like $97 and change.
Son of a biscuit.
And I got this for half of cover price, which was $9.99.
Oh my god!
Yeah, you told us in the pre-chat about it, and I was like, wait, what? Oh, that's what it is.
You got it for half cover. So, that's evil, Riley.
Yeah, so this is the that's lucky.
That is lucky, Riley. Wow.
That's like the only really. There's one other book in the 6-volume series that's a little hard to find. The rest of them are all easy. Like you can find them for way under cover. So now that I found that one, I can finally start collecting and reading that series. I've been wanting to read this series for like, it's probably been about 5 years now that I've been looking for this first volume, because a guy in one of my classes when I was in school, it was like a painting class or something, was reading one of the volumes, and I was like, oh, what's that? And he's like, oh, it's Denny O'Neil's Question. It's awesome. You know, it's kind of hard to find the first volume, but if you find it, you should totally get it and read it. It's great. So I was like, okay, well, I'll go try and find it. 5 years later, here we are. Finally found it. So I decided, you know, let's go ahead and push my luck. I bought the book. I posted on the group. People were excited for me. I was excited about it. I rarely find things like that in the store.
What store was this?
If I ever get deals on stuff, it's because someone else has helped me out, and then I give eternal gratitude to them. But I am the last person to ever like go into Half Price Books and find a whale just sitting there.
This is Half Price Books?
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's a Half Price Books, so.
Oh God, I wish we had them here in Orlando.
Yeah, we don't have them here either.
They're a godsend. So across the street from that Half Price Books is comic shop in Austin. Anyone who's been to Austin knows Austin Books and Comics. The cool thing about Austin Books and Comics is they own the entire block of where they're located. And they have their main store. They have the Guzu Gallery, which is a bunch of like indie and alternative type stuff. And then they've got there's like a coffee shop that they have, and then there's a place called like Outlaw Moon or something like that, where they sell like old toys, like old Ninja Turtles and Transformers. And then next to that is my sweet spot, which is the Sidekick store. The Sidekick store is a store where everything is half off. And it's just, you know, extra stuff that they had at the main store that they move over there. And they have had whales for half off.
Whoa.
They had recently, they don't have it anymore, but they had tons of copies of Mutant Massacre oversized hardcover for half price. They have had all kinds of stuff for half price. Of course, they have the crap that no one cares about, like Atlantis Attacks and stuff like that, but they always have sweet finds. So I went through and almost blew my entire budget for the month just over there, but I cut it down and I bought just a few different books.
Wait, let me guess. Anita Blake, vampire chick, right?
That and all of the Stephen King hardcovers of The Dark Tower.
Oh, how dare you put that in the league with Anita Blake?
Well, those are the ones that are always like super duper, like 80% off, and people will throw them in for free because there's apparently 1 million of them out there.
Oh.
Nothing to do with the quality. It's just there's so many copies of them that you sometimes literally get a free copy of it when you order from some stores online.
I just know that whenever I go to a Comic-Con, and I look for any kind of trade paperback or anything, it's nothing but Anita Blake. I don't even know who Anita Blake is, but she's out there by the buttload in all these Comic-Cons.
Yeah, I see it all the time too.
Actually the best thing ever.
I see it all the time too. And like those half price trade paperback bins, you're like, okay, Anita Blake, what the hell is this shit?
I think on in-stock trades they're like 80% off. God, like constantly. They never run out. They're always there.
Yeah.
One day they'll run out and those will be the new whales. Everyone
Right.
Anita Blake will be the new Annihilation.
Yeah. Volume 1, $100. Volume 2, $200. Volume 3, $25. Volume 4, $75.
And then people will be clamoring for them like crazy.
And they're like, I heard it was really good. I've never read it myself, but you know, I've heard good things.
Yeah, now that it's out of print, I have to get it.
It seems to be the case with the Marvel Knights Punisher Omnibus by Ennis. Everybody's like, I heard it's okay, but you know, it sells for like crazy money.
That's why I'm not spending over cover on that.
I've heard it's not that great.
In comparison to
Max,
it's not as good, and that's why it gets a bum rap. But before I got into this whole mess with like collecting omnis and stuff, I had people recommend that, and like especially Welcome Back Frank to me as one of the better Punisher books. So I've heard really good things. I've heard middling things. But anyway, let me get back to my sweet haul. At the half price comic shop at the Sidekick store, I grabbed Extreme X-Men Volume 1, Destiny.
Ooh, got that for
this is
half
actually
off?
Yeah, it was $10. It's actually a little damaged too. It's got some bending stuff on here, but it's a lot better than anything I've seen online recently. I was surprised. Like, this volume has jumped up in price considerably.
It has.
And it's only lately, because before that I was seeing it like last year, maybe early this year. I saw it for really cheap, but something happened.
Yeah.
Next one I got was because I felt bad that I didn't actually read this book, but I was like basically explaining it to you, Jess, was X-Men Longshot.
Oh, you got it. Great.
Yes, I went ahead and picked that one up. I wanted the hardcover, but I figured I'll just settle for the paperback. It's same difference. So now I can read that.
Mojo.
Yeah, now I get to see where, because I've read tons of Mojo and tons of Longshot, but I've never read the original. So now I get to do that. Another series I've been putting off, like collecting the latter half of, was the most recent volume of New Mutants. So I have the first volume out of like 5 or so that Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning did together. And then I never bought the other 4, but I found 2 of them today for half off, which is really nice because I didn't feel like ordering them from Amazon and taking a chance with someone who has a very good quality book, because it's probably a library edition.
Yeah.
First one is Fear Itself, Wolverine New Mutants. Has a few
What a
issues.
cool cover that is.
Yeah, it was pretty neat.
Wow.
Look at
Wow.
that. That's awesome.
And then, so that has the 3-issue Wolverine miniseries that tied into Fear Itself, as well as 4 issues of New Mutants. And the next volume of New Mutants, A Date with the Devil, which has issues 33 through 37. And there are 2 more volumes after that I need to go hunt down. One of them is not going to be too hard to find. The other one might be a little bit hard to find. So we'll see what happens there. Then I grabbed another X-Men related book, the first volume of Cyclops by Greg Rucka and Russell Dodderman. This was a fantastic book, a real surprise. I did not expect this to actually be as nearly as good as it was. I mean, I was expecting something from Rucka and Dodderman, but this just exceeded all my expectations, especially given that it's one that focuses on the younger version of the character.
I've heard great things. I've heard great things, but I've also heard it's a shame that it only lasted like a few issues.
Yeah, and Rucka only wrote 5 issues, and then it goes to John Layman.
Mm-hmm.
And Layman did a great job, like, no doubt about it. But then it ends at issue 12, and that's a problem. And that's an issue that we're probably going to see with the upcoming X-Men solo books, is they're probably only going to last a dozen issues. Even if they're the best book ever, they're probably only going to last a dozen issues. Like, there's so many X-Men solo books that only lasted a dozen issues. 2 volumes of Nightcrawler. I think there's a volume of Rogue that was only 12 issues. I could go on and on, but I don't want to get distracted. And then I grabbed something that I was hoping for the longest time would get a hardcover. It still hasn't. So since I found the trade for cheap, I went ahead and bought Ellis's Moon Knight.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Great.
Incredible.
Fantastic. I also enjoyed the stuff that followed this, and I'm enjoying Lemire's run on the character as well. But Ellis just, set the bar for the new Moon Knight stories.
There's a I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but there is a panel in there that where Moon Knight is climbing up the stairs and he is kicking so much. It is awesome. It is so good, and it's a silent panel.
Yeah, it's like a wordless. The whole thing's wordless, right? He just goes up these stairs and continues to kick ass.
Yeah, if you ever want to read Moon Knight, that is the series to start.
Yeah.
Whole issue that was.
I think the whole issue's silent. Yeah. Pretty sure
if it was, because that series was ridiculously good, even though he only did 6 issues. I wish they would do some sort of hardcover of that, because Shalvey's artwork is so good in that run, and just the colors. I think it was Jordi Belair that did the colors on this. I hope I'm not wrong.
And that team is doing Injection now, if I'm not mistaken, at Image Comics.
Yeah, they're killing it. Yeah, it's Jordi Belair, and she is fantastic on that stuff. But there's like those really trippy pages and stuff. It's a fantastic series. And if you're not checking, like the first volume of Lemire's run just came out in paperback this week, I believe. That one's really worth checking out too. The second arc, the one he's currently doing, has this like all the different personalities of Mark Spector kind of mixing together, and it has like a different artist does the segments for each personality. There's even like Stoko does a segment. Francavilla does a segment. It's fantastic. It's really just a pleasure to see. Moving forward, because I didn't get enough of Thor with the codpiece Thor from a few weeks ago, I went ahead and bought Thor World Engine, which is the 4-issue story by Warren Ellis that preceded codpiece Thor. So he doesn't have the codpiece yet, but we do get him throughout this story pages that I flipped to. Obviously, none of the pages that I'm trying to flip to now. He was shirtless, very much shirtless.
And this is by Warren Ellis?
Yeah, it's Warren Ellis with Mike Deodato.
Wait.
Oh.
Is Thor shirtless in this? Is Thor shirtless in this? Is that what you just said?
Yeah, there's a lot of shirtless Thor, and here's one.
Okay, that's going on my in-stock trades pull list for next week.
Because it's shirtless Thor.
So I was, I saw that there, and I was like, what the hell? It's, it's cheap. I'm going to grab it.
Well, that's a great creative team.
Oh, yeah, and I'm sure it's at least decent. I haven't read reviews or anything of it, but I'm very rarely disappointed by Warren Ellis. And I'm also trying to collect a lot of Thor stuff right now because I realized how easy it is to collect a massive chunk of Thor, and I already have some massive chunks of Thor, so I decided, what the heck?
You are a chunk of Thor.
Yeah. And then the last 2 books that I got, that's everything I got from the stores. The last 2 are from Amazon. One of them was a pre-order that many people in the group made, and that was the Flash by Manipul and Buccellato. This one, a lot of people jumped on it when the pre-order was only like 30-something bucks because it was originally solicited as a $75 deluxe edition rather than a $100 omnibus.
$33.
Well worth the $100 cover price because not only does it include the 25-issue run, but it also includes all the extra issues and material that were surrounding that run. So I was very nervous that they weren't going to include that because DC sucks at solicits and leaves out like half of what's included. But in the end, they put it all in there, so no worries. It's a great-looking volume. This was definitely one of my top 10 of the New 52 titles. Very valiant first-time writing for Manipul and Buccellato. First time as far as I know. The story is not always completely A+, but the artwork is the saving grace 100% of the time throughout that book. So if you're a fan of The Flash, if you're a fan of Manipul's artwork, definitely grab that one. It's very well worth the $50 it's going for in stock trades as well. The last book I got was kind of a spur of the moment, but I've been meaning to grab this for a while, and that's the Avengers vs. X-Men Companion. I got this on Amazon for $16 because I had, what did I have? There was that $10 discount on books over $25.
Right.
So I used that, and then I had $40 in Amazon credit through my credit card because I put down a down payment on my car and then immediately paid it off and then reaped the benefits.
Nice.
So $4,000 makes $40 basically. So
sounds right.
Avengers Academy 29 through 33, Secret Avengers 26 through 28, Avengers 25 through 30, New Avengers 24 through 30, X-Men Legacy 266 through 270, Wolverine and the X-Men 9 through 16 and 18, Uncanny X-Men 11 through 20, AVX Consequences 1 through 5, and A-Babies versus X-Babies number 1. So a really nice chunk of material. I think it's a total of like 50 some odd issues for $100 cover price. And it's really great. There's a lot of fantastic artwork in here that I like. I've read most of the stuff that's in here before. Like the X-Men stuff, I read all that when it was originally coming out. But there's some great artists involved in here that I completely forgot about. Like Daniel Acuna does some of the work on Uncanny X-Men issues. Very choice. Very, very choice looking stuff. But that's my haul. That's my haul for the past week. I made another order on in-stock trade, so I guess I'll have some stuff to show off next week as well.
Nice.
Getting back to the Flash, though, I've heard mixed. I'm glad you said you liked it a lot because I've heard that the main draw of it is the art. That the story is okay, but the main draw is I think it's Francis Manapul that does the art. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Manapul, his artwork is just
I've heard it's gorgeous.
fantastic. It's amazing. It was one of the most beautiful books of the New 52, and it reads well. It's not like it reads horribly. It's just it's not necessarily anything groundbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that might have hindered it when it was coming out in single issues was that it's very it's not broken into really arcs. It mostly just continues straight through. It's one long solid storyline. Later on it gets into a couple of actual like story arcs, but at the beginning it was kind of like really like every month you'd be like, they're still on the same storyline. It's been like a whole year and they're still like on the same thing. At least that's how I remembered it. But I loved it when it was coming out. About halfway through is when I started being like, it's not the best written series, but it still looks really pretty. But I think like all in one chunk and for the price that it's going for like 30 issues worth of material, it's a really good book to pick up. And DC's binding is finally better. And this is a book that has pretty good binding on it.
Nice.
So we've wasted an hour now. So we can go ahead and start talking about the reason we're all here today.
Don't say we never do anything for you guys.
Oh, yeah.
I know that people want to get those recommendations, though. I mean, there was a whole conversation about it today, talking about the books that we. So I guess definitely want to cut that segment out, even if it takes up half of the story sometime. But the reason we're all here today, like I mentioned earlier in the video, what are some different media that we would like to see adapted into comics? So be it something like movies or TV shows, cartoons, video games, maybe even a record. Go ahead and these are things that we wanted to tell you why we think that it would make a good comic.
Right.
Who wants to go first?
So, yeah, which one of y'all wants to go first?
I guess I'll go first. Well, my first pick for something that would make a great comic is one of my favorite movies of all time, Children of Men. Children of Men, brilliant film by Alfonso Cuarón. Essentially what it is that in this universe, all women are sterile. They are not able to have kids. However, after one faithful day, this young woman is able to have a child. She is pregnant. And it kind of leads into the politics of what would happen in that world. This is set in the far future. It's a brilliant, absolutely brilliant film that if you've never seen it, I recommend you do. At the end of the film, I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to give it away for those of you that have never seen it because I urge you guys, if you've never seen Children of Men, it's incredible.
I agree.
It's frightening how well Cuarón is able to predict what's going to happen in the future. And it's one of those films where it is set in the future, but it's not so far in the future that you lose kind of touch of, well, this is impossible, this can't happen. It's still very grounded in reality. And at the end of the film, you're still following around the pregnant woman as she's going on in her journey to find basically this group of people that will help her and that'll research why was she able to get pregnant and nobody else has for like the past 40 years. Incredible movie, and I would love to see a continuation story following that woman on her quest and following her around the world and following kind of the politics of it and seeing what that world would be like, where the youngest person in the world just died. Everybody's freaking out about it. The world is on the brink of collapse. Awesome series. If you've ever played The Last of Us, I guess is probably the closest thing that you can get to it, but it still doesn't hold a candle. And The Last of Us is brilliant to Children of Men. I love that film.
Totally agree.
Great
movie.
List is BioShock. If you've ever played the video game BioShock, you know what it's about. Underwater city where everything pretty much goes horribly wrong, and they follow Aaron Rand's philosophy. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant video game. I would love to see a prequel series of how the underwater city city got to be what it is, where Andrew Ryan came up with the concept, all this other stuff. Absolutely stellar series. I really would like to see them do a comic book of it. I think it's ripe for that universe. Yes, we got the second game that was Infinite, and it kind of closed off the game, but it didn't because there are multiple universes. But I absolutely love BioShock, one of my favorite games of all time. I think it would make an incredible comic book series if you get the right writer and if you get somebody that's really intelligent on it. I was thinking Warren Ellis would be a great fit. Nick Spencer, who is, if you follow his Twitter, he's very, very actively engaged in politics, and he's actually a really intelligent guy. I think he would also be a really great fit. You could even get somebody like Greg Rucka as well that I think they would crush it on a topic like this. If you've ever read Greg Rucka's Lazarus, you know that he would be perfect for a BioShock story. After that, I have one more choice. Oh, I have two more choices. John Wick. I don't know how many of you guys have seen John Wick. Awesome film about assassins. Great universe that they establish in it, starring Keanu Reeves. We're getting a second one, I think in February, March of next year, but I love the first one. John Wick was absolutely badass. And then my next choice is Breaking Bad. If you guys have seen Breaking Bad, I would love to see kind of a prequel series focusing on the character of Gus. Throughout the series of Breaking Bad, they hint at Gus and where he came from and his upbringing. There are rumors that Gus is gay, and they kind of hint at it little pieces here and there throughout the series, but they never really touch up on it. I would love to see him, and I would love to see his story back when he was in Chile at the beginning of his life, and kind of see his rise to power, how he got to where he comes to be in the series of Breaking Bad, and how he came to be the owner of Los Pollos Hermanos, how he established who he was, and how he built up his legacy as pretty much one of the most badass drug kingpins that has ever been portrayed on TV. Love the character of Gus. I really want to see more. I was sad to see him go once the series, everything wraps up with his character, but incredible dimensional character. Absolutely brilliant.
Okay, all right. So, Jess, do you want to go or do you want me to go?
Oh, you weren't going that whole time?
No, I was waiting. I wanted to solve the mystery.
Okay. Sure, I can go.
I love you guys. I'm just kidding.
The first thing that I would like made into a comic would be Howard Stern, Private Parts. I love the book. I love his radio show. And I think it would make a great graphic novel adaptation. You could just take it straight from the book. He makes it very easy. He writes very simply. Lots of pictures. And I would love to see his life story in a comic book because I love Howard Stern. Hit him with the hind. I love him.
Baba Booey.
Baba Booey. Indeed. The next would be... would make a great comic book. I could see it ongoing because I can hear the voices in my head, and that would be the greatest movie ever. Fuck Citizen Kane, forget West Side Story, forget Casablanca, forget Children of Men. We're talking Napoleon Dynamite. I would love to see this as a comic book. It was a great cartoon on Fox, but the Philistines of that network cut it short and didn't renew it. It involved everybody in the Napoleon Dynamite universe, and you could work them all into a wonderful comic book because this is a blast. There's a new Burger King commercial out with Pedro and Napoleon as themselves about cheesy tater tots. Do yourself a favor and check that commercial out, the Burger King commercial, because it's hilarious. Mm-hmm. And Napoleon Dynamite, I think, would make a great comic book. Who would write it? Who would draw it? I would like to see Jared Hess, the co-writer of it, write it, and who could draw it? I don't know, Brian Boland. I don't know.
Reaching for the stars.
Yes.
Why not?
I think the Chew team could take it.
That'd be a good idea.
Erica Henderson on Squirrel Girl, she would be a really good artist for that.
I agree with that. The next is a TV show that I just started watching with Michelle Dockery in it. and I downloaded a picture of her. It's called Good Behavior. It's on TBT. It just started, and it is full of all kinds of sex and other violence. It's it got a great premise where she just got out of a stint in jail. She plays, she's the gal that played Lady Mary in Downton Abbey. Yes, I watched Downton Abbey. Yes, I watched it with my wife. No, I don't wear a dress and earrings. I loved the show. So if you don't like that part, tune out and don't listen to me. That's my clean way of saying fuck off. So Michelle Dockery's in this, and she has a very good Southern accent in it. She plays, it's complicated. She's trying to stay straight, but she gets involved in some underworld stuff. The guy that she gets involved with kills people for a living. Some people deserve the killing. Some people don't. She unfortunately gets caught up in this net with him, and she looks stunning in it. There are many elements in it that I think would make a great comic book because she plays a very diverse character. She's got a child that she's not allowed within 1,000 feet of because of her past, and her mom is a complete sleazebag who has possession of the child, won't let her see the child, and she is an alcoholic, drug addict trying to stay clean, and it's not going that well so far, but she does a really good job. She does some singing, she does great acting, and I can see this making a really good comic book like Alias, aka Jessica Jones, as that was. And speaking of Jessica Jones, that Daredevil TV show would make a good comic book, I think. But Michelle Dockery's great in this, so even though it will never get a comic book, it would make a wonderful comic book, and you should be watching it. Called Good Behavior on TNT. And then if you go online, I just discovered there's explicit versions of the show that they can't show on TV, and I would like to see that. I'm telling you, as a fan of Michelle Dockery, I'm up for that. The next one would be my favorite album of all time, made way before you were born, probably when your parents were in high school, or my age, they were in middle school. So this is an oldie but a goodie. This is Days of Future Past by the Moody Blues. This is an epic album recorded with the London Festival Orchestra, and it's basically about the day going through the night. It concludes the big hits Tuesday Afternoon and Nights in White Satin. I would like to see this adapted into comic book form and drawn by P. Craig Russell, and written by Neil Gaiman, and they could fill it full of all kinds of fairies wandering around in a fairyland as the dawn breaks, and P. Craig Russell would do a great job of putting the Moody Blues songs to paper. I can just see it filled with colors and filled with all kinds of interesting creatures. So that is what I would like to see adapted into a comic book. And then the last one,
I think J.H. Williams would crush something like that.
Oh yeah, he'd be good too. The next one would be, I want to see these two pops in a comic book. We got Rainbow Batman and Batman of Zur-En-Arrh. Zur-En-Arrh. I want to see them written by Grant Morrison in a comic book about Rainbow Batman and Batman of Zur-En-Arrh. Who could draw this? Scotty Young. I bet he'd do a good job on Pops. And I want to see, it would make a really good cartoon as long as you've got the bobbleheads going the whole time while they're moving around. You could make a Pop movie of it too. But I would love to see Rainbow Batman and Batman of Zur-En-Arrh in a comic book written by Grant Morrison. Who the heck knows where he would take these two Pop characters? The imagination just is spinning right now. Where would he take pop figures? I don't know. It's a challenge to think about it, but God bless America. I would love to see what's going on with these two figures. There's got to be a history there. There's got to be something interesting going on with those guys. Love to see it in comic book form. Tell me the origin of Rainbow Batman in comic book form. Rainbow Batman Pop, that is. There's some story there to be had. I'm telling you.
I feel like it'd have something to do with Batmite.
Yes. Have you ever read Grant
like
Morrison's run on Batman?
Yes.
It's, oh man. Oof.
Well, yeah, he incorporates. I mean, there's a whole thing on Batman Zur-En-Arrh that he, a treatise that was the annotated book of how to follow it, and yeah, he draws on a lot of 50 stuff. I think it's the case book, the black case book or something, is what he drew on for that series. So he's my guy for a pop comic. And
if you ever read Grant Morrison's Batman, there's what's the name of the doctor that attacks him and captures him? Doctor.
Are you thinking about Dr. Hurt or Dr. Strange?
Hurt. Yeah, Dr. Hurt. Captures him and injects him with weapons-grade crystal meth. Because regular crystal meth apparently isn't good enough to take down the Batman. So, it was one of the most weirdest runs. Admittingly, I was not that big of a fan of Grant Morrison's Batman run. I loved his Batman and Robin, but everything leading up to it, Batman R.I.P. and all that stuff, it just wasn't for me.
Well, then this is the comic book for you, because you think crystal meth is taking down Rainbow Batman Pop? I don't think so. No. So there you go.
All right. that was a trip. You hit all the bases right there. So I've got a few things. The first one that I'm going to talk about is a repeat of one thing that Luis mentioned, and that's Breaking Bad. I also wanted to see this as a comic. This is the full series Blu-ray set. Really cool little set. Just show off all the discs in there.
Oh, that is so awesome.
This was one of the that was a gift that Megan gave me for Christmas before we even got married. So that was a fun little thing. But I absolutely love that series, and I was thinking about it earlier today, exactly what I would want to see adapted from that, because I don't think it would be good to just straight adapt that whole show into a comic. It's just too much. I don't think it would work out well. It never really works well in the first place, because there's a reason these things, they're written for TV, you know? But in the same vein as what Luis was saying, I thought they could do stuff with other characters, show their pasts, maybe show something that happens to them later on. A prequel, sequel, sidequel, maybe something that's happening with those characters at the same time. I thought about Gus. I thought about seeing more stuff with Hank. Maybe seeing a few issues that talk about Walter before the series, and we see maybe a little bit of hints of him having that sociopathic nature to him that you don't see like at the very beginning of the series before things start going downhill for him. And I would love to see that adapted by entirely, if not just like part of an anthology series, from the Scalped team of Jason Aaron and Aram Guerra.
Ooh, good choice.
I think they would be the perfect match. They have the perfect tonally. They match the series so well.
Great.
The next one I have, I'll do another TV series first. Cartoon series would be The Venture Brothers. The Venture Brothers is one of my absolute favorite cartoons of all time. I love it so much. I think it gets a lot of appreciation, but even then I don't think it gets enough appreciation. If you haven't seen it, it's basically a big parody of every like 80s cartoon ever, and like all the superheroes and stuff. The main crew of characters is a direct rip on the
Sorry.
the main crew of characters is a direct rip on the Johnny Quest gang. So you have like the scientist father and the kids and the bodyguard and stuff like that. And the series has these characters interacting with all these different parody characters. There's, characters who parody the Fantastic Four. There's characters who parody, like, God, there's everything in there. There's a Doctor Strange character in there. It comes from everywhere. And it's an amazingly written series. It's so smart. It's so well done. And it starts as a very, like, episodic type series. Just every episode is its own little thing. But there's actually an ongoing plot that goes on through the whole thing. And it goes on a lot of hiatuses. It's only had like 6 seasons, and it's been on the air since 2003. But every time a new season comes up, it's freaking phenomenal, and I absolutely love it. And I think that it would be fantastic if we could see a comic book series adapting, not adapting, but doing, like, side storylines starring some of these characters, whether it be the main characters or whether it be some of the other characters from the series, written by the writing team of Jackson Public, Doc Hammer, and Ben Edlund. And then art would be by a rotating group of, whoever they can grab for the series. Anyone who does something that is, like, cartoony and kind of has that kind of Saturday morning 80s cartoon style to it. But if you haven't watched that series yet, like I said, it's one of my absolute favorites. I highly recommend it. I actually now feel like going and watching the whole series again right now. So moving forward, I've got some movies that I think would make really cool comic books. One of these is a direct adaptation that I'd like to see in comic form, followed by a sequel, and that is Kill Bill.
Ah, God.
Kill Bill.
I love that movie.
The 2 Kill Bill movies, one of my absolute favorite movies of all time. I love Kill Bill, and I would love to see it directly adapted into a comic book, because there are even animated scenes in there. It feels like something that would be so well adapted into comic book format because of the way that the story is told. I don't think that it would lose much of anything by moving to the other format. But I would also like to see Kill Bill Volume 3, because that's something that Quentin Tarantino had teased for a long time, and he had said that he intended to give us a Volume 3 that would star the daughter of the
Black
first
Mamba.
victim.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she would be grown up, and he was going to film that 10 years later, so it would be kind of in real time and have her taking revenge on the bride. Now, that obviously didn't happen, and now there's, pretty much no chance that they're actually going to film it. But I think it would make a fantastic comic book sequel. They could put it in comic book format. They could tell us that story. They could work off of whatever original script that Quentin Tarantino makes up for himself. I just think it would be a phenomenal freaking series. I have no idea what artist I would like to bring in there, but it would make for a great comic book series.
Jerome Pena, I think, would be good.
That's a pretty good. Actually,
How about Jack Kirby?
Brilliant idea. That's the best right there.
I think Jerome Pena would be able to crush something like that.
Yeah, no, that's definitely. I think that's a really good idea.
What about Ribic? Assad Ribic.
I thought about him for a split second. I think his style is a little too airy for this universe, because it's a little more earthy.
Yeah.
But Jerome Opeña paired with the right colorist, probably not Dean White, but someone else, would do wonders on that book.
Yeah. I agree completely with you. Kill Bill is ripe for the continuation of it. And it's a shame. Tarantino, I think, said he's only got 2 more films, and then he's done. He doesn't want to do anything else after these next 2 films. I hope it's not another Western, because I think he's mined the Western genre for all it's worth now. But I really do hope one of those 2 films is him revisiting this universe again.
I read about something about what his remaining films were going to be the other day, but I don't remember offhand. The other movie that I was looking at my collection and thought about, this would be really cool. Not as a direct adaptation, but as something telling, like, expanded stories in this universe, would be Inception.
Ooh.
And I absolutely loved Inception when it came out in theaters back in whatever year that was. Whatever it was. I absolutely loved it. Yes, that was it. Back when they had the talkies.
Yeah,
and stuff.
it's one of the first talkies.
But anyway, I felt like that would be a series where they don't even have to focus on the same characters. They could throw those characters out the window, just focus on that concept of why this science exists in this world. Like, what are they using it for? Who's making it? What other purposes has it had? Where do they use it in the future? Where have they used it in the past? Like, why do they have the ability to go into people's dreams, and what else can they do with that? I think it would be a great anthology type series with different stories focusing on different people throughout history, throughout recent history, throughout the future. I'm imagining it kind of like, just off the top of my head, like Northlanders, where every arc of Northlanders focused on a different character. They revisited some characters, of course, but it was very broad in that it focused on a lot of different people and not just one group of characters and went forward. And that's the way that I think they could do Inception. Let's see. And then I've got, for my video game, I just grabbed Metroid. I just grabbed the Prime trilogy, but not necessarily Prime. Now, I know that there is a Metroid comic book that was in Nintendo Power, and I was actually talking to Nick, one of our admins in the group, the other day. He had asked me if I thought it was likely to see that collected in the same way that they've been collecting like the Zelda and Mario comics from Nintendo Power. And I said I didn't think it was as likely to happen because Metroid, as great of a series as it is not as popular, and they don't have any upcoming Metroid games aside from some like dumb-looking kiddie Metroid game that was supposed to come out on the 3DS at some point. But I would love to see just an ongoing series focusing on Samus and her just life and her journeys as the bounty hunter and all this stuff. Like, I would adore to see a Metroid comic book. Mm-hmm. I don't care who does it. I would read it even if it was like the worst creative team of all time, because I love Metroid. It could be, Rob Liefeld with Greg Land, and I would still read it.
How about Scott Lobdell with Greg Land?
I would read it. It would probably suck balls, but I'd still read it.
That sounds like a challenge. You would hate read it.
Yeah, I'd be like, why the fuck would you put this team on this book? But I'm still reading it. But that's, yeah, I love Metroid. That's like, I'm a huge Nintendo fanboy, and that's probably my number 3 franchise right after like Zelda and Pokemon. And I've played like every Metroid game and absolutely adored. Actually, I haven't played like Other M is the only one I haven't played, I think.
Nintendo's been treating Metroid lately like the redheaded stepchild of their company. They skipped out on the 25th anniversary. There's nothing in lieu of new games. Well, no, that's not true. They released like some shitty 3DS game like a few months ago or something like that, and nobody gave a damn about it. But it's such a shame. It's really a shame.
On the Wii, on the Wii and the Wii U, those Metroid game ending bosses kick my ass. I can get all the way through the games, and then I just cannot beat those bosses. It is a pisser.
You know which franchise from Nintendo really gets the short end of the stick is F-Zero.
Yeah.
F-Zero has not had a game since like, I think the GameCube game might have been the last one that came out. I don't know, but it's so ridiculous. And the Wii would have been the perfect platform to have an F-Zero game on. Mm-hmm. The Wii U would have been a great platform to have an F-Zero game on.
Same thing.
So,
same thing with Mother and Earthbound.
Yeah. They get no love in America, period.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Anyway, my last thing that I would say is, as far as like an album, a musical album goes, I really love concept albums, and I thought it would be really cool if we would see the first 3 albums by My Chemical Romance adapted into comic books, because they adapted their 4th album, which was the Killjoys book.
True Lives of the Fabulous.
True Lives of the Fabulous Killjoys. And Gerard Way, of course, wrote it himself because he writes comics. He's writing Doom Patrol right now. and he had Becky Cloonan doing the art on that. I think that it would be great if they went back and did their other concept albums. You know, the first 3 albums each had their own ongoing stories throughout, and it would be really cool to see Gerard adapt those for the page as well. They were pretty intriguing little stories. I would love to revisit those albums in that way. But yeah, that's everything I've got for today, guys.
Was I the only one that just heard that big ding?
Yes.
I did too.
No, I'll blame it on Louise.
It's my Mac. It's whenever somebody sends me a text or calls me, it just forwards it to my Mac. I don't know how to shut it off yet.
Well, I'm sure Nick Munoz can figure it out.
Intern
Nick Munoz.
All right, guys. So I guess that wraps up the main portion of our show tonight, and we can go into. Oh, Jess, you said you had an Evil Jess story earlier.
Oh, sure. I'm happy to tell that story. This was a while ago, back when I was in my 20s, and I was still living in California, and I grew up in Carmel, which is a small town. There's only about 3,000 people in the town, Carmel by the Sea. And I was dating a gal. I was probably 25. So I was dating a gal, and then I got the bright idea that I should cheat on her and start dating another gal in this tiny town.
Oh no!
Now, you don't even do that in college if it's that small of a campus, and I thought I could get away with it. And this went on for a period of months. This isn't even the evil part yet. Well, I guess that's evil. But I managed to keep them separate for a period of months until one of the gals, unbeknownst to me, I had a main girlfriend and then the other squeeze. And the squeeze sent flowers to my house. And my main girlfriend was there at my house, got them, saw who they were from, and I was at a bar not far from my house. This is how stupid I was. I was at a bar not far from my house, and my girlfriend knew where I was. She came down to the bar, saw me at the bar with the girl, turned me around, took my drink, and threw it in my face and said, "We're done." So I'm sitting there with like martini olive juice all over my face. I can't really see. She storms out. The squeeze looks at me and says, "Who the F was that?" And she takes her drink, which was a beer, and throws it in my face. So I've got 2 drinks in my face. I fall off my stool. I have no idea where I am. I can't see. I'm groveling on the ground. She nudges me with her knee to knock me over, and I was totally embarrassed. There was 100 people there in that bar who started banging on their tables, clapping, "Yay, the jerk gets what he deserves." And I just dusted myself off. I'm soaked in all his alcohol. I dusted myself off, and I said, "Thank you for your support." And I sat back down and I ordered a shot of tequila. Needless to say, I did not have a girlfriend for a number of months after that. I got a bit of a reputation in this small town, and then I moved to Washington, D.C., and things, we can tell Evil Jess stories about that later, but yeah, Evil Jess reared his head in Carmel for that time period. That was
I have a feeling that there's a lot more Evil Jess stories than there are Evil Riley stories.
Yeah, there's a strange feeling he's been holding back on us.
Yeah.
They all involve girls, unfortunately. They're who I was evil to.
My last girlfriend before Megan actually told me whenever we broke up, she was like, "And you better not be dating that Megan chick." So, I mean, we all see where that went, I guess. But anyway, so we can do about 10 minutes or so of questions and stuff. My my producer, if you will, is telling me to wrap things up.
Guys, I gotta cut it short tonight. Actually, I gotta go to bed. I got a meeting tomorrow, and I gotta wake up super early. So I apologize.
All right.
I'm sorry I won't be able to do Q&A tonight. But yeah, I gotta cut it short because this guy's gotta get up early. So yeah, you don't mind, Riley? I'll do my sign out, and I'll let you guys finish up.
All right, man. Go ahead.
Okay, so you, as always, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Facebook at Hardcover Reviews, Twitter at Hardcover Review. And if you like this type of content, I do it as well on every other week on my channel. And you want to keep supporting this channel, you can always look up my Patreon, patreon.com/Hardcover Reviews. Me and Jess, and I guess if Jess wants to keep doing it, or if another rotating third guest or second guest, have started a weekly news show on Patreon.
That's fun. I loved it.
Yeah, it was really fun. We started it last week. That's taking the place of me just talking about news because I thought that was kind of boring. So me and Jess have started that. Really fun stuff. That's at the $5 level at Patreon. Check it out. Love you guys. And that's my sign out. So
Peace out.
See you all next week. Look for my other stuff. You can follow me at Hardcover Reviews on YouTube. Bye.
Good night.
Adios.
Bye. All right, so we can take a few questions then. Jess, do you see any questions that you would like to answer?
Well, I saw some about my sweater vest. People seem to like my sweater vest. Thank you very much for the compliment.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
Thank you. But I couldn't give us a quick comment on Jess's bitching sweater vest. Yeah, thanks, buddy. Here it is in its glory.
So where did that sweater vest come from?
It was a Christmas present from my wife, who has never thrown a drink in my face since I haven't given her a reason to yet. It's from Territory Ahead, and it was just cool enough today, not cold enough to wear a sweater, but I needed something on, so the sweater vest came out, and yeah, I'm rocking it. So thanks, buddy. Thank you, Jay Lewis, for noticing that I'm wearing a sweater vest.
All right. Question: leftover pizza, reheat in the oven or in the microwave? I go with the microwave because usually I'm in a hurry. I'm in a hurry to eat my pizza.
Riley, did you buy the new Final Fantasy?
I didn't. I don't have the extra funds at the moment to pick up the game. Maybe after Christmas, especially because I dropped all that money at the shop today.
Yeah.
Because I kind of forgot that it was coming out. But it's been a little while. I haven't played a Final Fantasy game in a while, so I don't know. I'll probably pick it up eventually.
I've never played Final Fantasy, but the latest game previews look really good.
It looks a lot different. This one does. I haven't seen much about it, but it looks different. I also have someone asking me about X-Men Reading Order video that I talked about a while ago. I talked about that a long time ago, and I still never posted it because I've filmed it and refilmed it like 3 times because I'm trying to get it absolutely perfect. And then after that, I have to go through the whole editing process, and that's just a drudge like we talked about earlier. But eventually, I'll get it down perfectly. I'm kind of thinking I'm going to wait a little bit so that I can get some more books and fill in some more gaps, and then go ahead and do stuff. Let's see. Jess, did you ever read DC's Invasion storyline?
Invasion. I don't think so.
Okay, I haven't either. So it was in the late 80s, as Kenneth is saying.
No, I don't think so.
I haven't either, so unfortunately can't comment on that. But there are people asking if we've been reading any DC Rebirth titles.
I read the very first. Actually, yeah, I was going to ask you about that, Riley, because I know that Rebirth Omni is coming out next week. and I believe it's a collection of the first issue of a bunch of Rebirth titles. And I know generally nobody really likes those kind of one issue omnis. Do you think that would be? I'm waiting now that I know there's oversized hardcover deluxe editions of Rebirth titles. I'm waiting on it completely till summer of 2017 to read Rebirth. But do you think it would be a good way to get introduced to Rebirth to get that Omni, or is it another New 52 first issue thing?
It's I think that it works a little bit better than the New 52 first issue one because it's much cheaper, because it's much smaller, because there's only about 20 or so issues in there.
Okay.
The issues in there, if you want something, if you get it for really cheap, it's a good kind of like way to test drive these series, just see which ones you enjoy, which ones you might want to grab in trade. And now that they just recently announced all these deluxe hardcovers for a lot of the series, it might be a way for you to see which ones of those you want to wait for in the deluxe hardcover.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a lot, I think, out of the maybe 25 or so ongoing Rebirth series right now, solid like 15 of them are like A+ series.
Yeah, that's what I know you've been telling me, and that's what a lot of people have been telling me. I really can't wait to get into it. It sounds like what I've been waiting for a long time. It's really exciting. I loved the whole way Rebirth, how they ended New 52 and went right into it. I read that first Rebirth book, and I read Watchmen before Watchmen, and I read the Rebirth book, the first thing that there's now a hardcover of, and I'm thinking about getting that in hardcover just because it's cool. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about Rebirth.
Yeah, there's a lot to love out there, and I'm glad they're going like the quote Marvel route and releasing these deluxe hardcovers.
Right.
And I'm also glad that they announced them so early. I mean, the first trades are not even out, and they already have been announcing them. And a lot of the best series are getting those hardcovers, so it's a lot of great stuff to look forward to.
Yeah, I'm also Flintstones is mentioned, and I'm also looking forward to that trade when it comes out, since Flintstones is supposed to be fantastic.
Oh yeah, that one's a damn good comic. I also have someone asking if I'm excited for X-Men Blue and Gold. I'm very excited for X-Men Blue. I'm not as excited for X-Men Gold. The reason I'm so excited for X-Men Blue is because it's Cullen Bunn, and he's continuing to write Magneto. He's been writing Magneto so well, and now he's finally, not going to have freaking Greg Land on the artwork. I almost wiped his name from my mind for a second. But yeah, Cullen Bunn writes a beautiful Magneto. I know he's continuing with the time-displaced original 5 X-Men, which has gotten very old and stale at this point. But I have faith that if anyone can give us a story that makes it worth it, it's going to be Cullen Bunn. He's, for my money, the best X-Men writer that's on the books at the moment. X-Men Gold is being written by Mark Guggenheim, who has not really shown in the past that he's the best writer ever. He did do a couple of X-Men series before. He did a short run on the most recent Adjectiveless series, and he did Young X-Men, which was a 12-issue run. I thought the Adjectiveless run was okay. The one arc that he did, I thought it was decent. He did write a beautiful single issue of Spider-Man, which was the one where Flash Thompson, you see about him losing his legs and stuff. So he is a good writer. He just doesn't hit it out of the park as much as you'd hope, especially for someone that they chose to write one of the 2 main books. But he's got Kitty Pryde as the leader of that team, and she's like one of, if not my absolute favorite X-Men of all time. So I'm excited about that, at least.
Jess, where did you get those comic frames in the background? Mr. Glock 9mm. If you're a member of the Omnibus page, PM me and I'll figure it out. I got them a long time ago, but I can. And if you're not a member of the Omnibus page, submit it to the YouTube comments, and I'll figure it out and answer your question. I did not get them from Bed Bath & Beyond. I ordered them online, but they're really good frames. So feel free to PM me if you're a member of the group, and I'll figure it out. And I see another really good question. What book do you own? Let's see. What was that? What book do you have that you look at and think, why the fuck do I own this? Do you have one of those, Rye? I do. I can go pull it right now.
I think I've like purged my collection of anything that I absolutely hate. I have stuff that I have stuff that I love. I have stuff that I like. I have stuff that I think is okay that I just hang on to because it fills in a gap between other storylines. But I don't have anything anymore that I absolutely hate.
Yeah, the book that I hate, that I own, that I was really excited for, and I'll be giving it away. And this might be controversial because I know a lot of people like it. I did not. I thought it was trite, cliched, poorly written, and unexciting. And that is Batman Noel. I just did not dig this. It spoke to me on zero levels. And I mean, the artwork is wonderful, but the story is so cliched. It didn't surprise me one bit. I could see everything. It was just a 30-mile-an-hour fastball from some little league pitcher throwing it at me. I could see it coming from a mile away, and I look at it and think, why did I waste $23? I must have got it from IST. I can't believe it. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I did not dig it at all. Those of you out there who like it, I apologize. Different strokes for different folks. Yeah, see, I see that somebody likes it out there. Sorry, guys. It was not my cup of tea. And no, Nick, don't get it to me don't give me another copy for Christmas.
Nick was actually asking what's on our Christmas list as far as comic books go.
Oh, that's a good question.
I have a lot of stuff that I basically just missed before that I didn't pick up. The reprint of the first Spider-Man Omnibus, and I put the absolute Green Lantern, Green Arrow, Green Lantern.
What a book. What a great absolute. Yeah.
There's a couple others, a lot of like thicker paperbacks and stuff, a lot of books that I just skipped, didn't pick up at the time because I didn't have the money for it. And that's what I do every year. I just put a lot of those things at the end of the year on my Christmas list and wind up getting those as gifts.
I am going to ask for statues. There is a cheetah bombshell from DC coming out that I am going to ask for. And by asking for it, I mean I'm going to buy it and then give it to my wife and say, give me this for Christmas.
I've done that.
Yeah. And then there's another statue, a bombshell of Katana that she's not my favorite character, but this bombshell statue is a bombshell. She's coming out in January. She is so well designed, and there's such detail in it from what I can tell, that I'm going to ask for a gift certificate to buy that at my local comic book store, Third Eye Comics in Annapolis, where I get all my statues. And my wife doesn't know it, but Evil Jess is going to be getting the new Harley Quinn Christmas statue when I go down to Annapolis with John Hahn. Not this Saturday, but a week from Saturday. He's visiting from out west, and he and I are going to go to Third Eye, and I'm going to pick me up that Harley new Christmas statue that I have to get it because it's Christmas time and it has to be displayed with the Christmas Harley bombshell. You know, I'm sorry, it's a Christmas thing. So It's got to be bought and displayed. Catan is the other one that I'm going to ask for.
All right. Well, I think we should wrap it on up now.
Okie doke.
Pretty good 15 minutes or so of question and answer. We had a good 2-hour show tonight with some major technical difficulties that were, don't forget that it was Louise who was at fault.
Yeah, he's not on right now. We can talk shit about him. God, he ruined the whole thing.
I'll have to go back and edit that after it loads onto YouTube and take out that like 5-minute segment of us just being like, what's going on?
Where's that noise from?
But anyway, that's it for tonight. Thank you guys so much for watching. Of course, you can find me on this channel right here. You can find me on the Facebook group. You can find me on my website, theomnibuscollector.com. I'm writing up an article right before we started the video, and I'll be finishing it probably tomorrow morning, about all of the new DC books that just got announced in their
goody. I can't wait
catalog.
To read that. That's going to be great.
I've got a lot of little, thoughts on a lot of those books. Not a ton of thoughts because I'm not as familiar with a lot of those titles as I am for the Marvel stuff, but I'll give you a couple of sentences about, what it collects, why it might be important, why it's coming out, what can we expect, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. So that'll be coming. And then, of course, Jess, where can they find you?
They can find me, OmniDog, on the Facebook group page. It's the Omnibus Collectors the Omnibus Collectors Swap and Shop. What's the name of that page again?
The Omnibus Collectors Comic Swap and Community.
Right, that's the one that I spend my whole life on. You'd think I'd know the name by now.
I just know the name of the chat room that we have. What is it? It was the Raddest Fucks, and now the Raddest Fucking People, and now it's
Crappy Club for Jerks.
Crappy Club for Jerks.
From a Simpsons episode.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have a pleasant night, and we will see you guys next week on.
Oh wait, Ryan Stace is a bastard. I forgot to say it. Okay, now
and
we
fuck
can,
Greg Land.
And yep, now we can tap out.
All right, guys. Good night.